It's a Sunday afternoon at the Salad Conservatory of Music, and orchestra musicians are warming up to audition for the Culver City Symphony Orchestra. There's cellists, pianists, flautists, and if you can't tell, the contestants are absolutely nailing it.
I was blown away. There wasn't a rotten apple in the bunch.
Clyde Mitchell, the Culver City Orchestra music director, leads the panel judging 22 musicians vying for just 3 spots. Despite their different instruments and compositions, the musicians auditioning all have one thing in common.
I'm a freshman. I am 16 years old.
I'm in 11th grade.
They're all students, mostly teenagers, spending a weekend afternoon indoors competing for the chance to play with the Culver City Orchestra. The call for aspiring musicians was open to youth ages 12 to 22 from across the region.
I go to Campbell Hall. I go to Cal State Long Beach.
I'm at the California School of the Arts in San Gabriel Valley.
If you haven't been to a symphony performance or haven't been to one in a while, they aren't usually a very young place. Oftentimes, it's giving retirement community vibes. If you see people under 20 at a classical music concert, odds are they've been brought there by an adult. But the ones here today?
I was online on YouTube and I saw a piano concerto played by one of the winners here.
I was just looking for more competitions to play in, and I found it online and applied.
The youth competition winners get to perform a solo with the orchestra. A few minutes where they're the star of the show, backed by 60 experienced musicians.
I haven't had a solo experience with an orchestra before, so that would be such an amazing step in my career.
While they're all used to playing with groups at school, it's not quite the same.
I have done a concerto with my school, but it's high schoolers who aren't particularly into their instruments.
Whereas the Culver City Orchestra
Has professional union musicians who play for television and film in the studios. People who teach and people that live in the community and have always loved playing their instrument. They have a great mix of people.
The magnitude of all the strings and the horns and everything and the percussion all together is just such a different experience.
The students all had different approaches to prep. There were the ones who were committed and consistent.
This piece I've been playing for maybe 6 months every day.
And then there were the ones who were crammed and crunched.
I actually didn't practice that much before the week of the competition, but this week I practiced a lot.
Just by listening, you wouldn't know some of them were kids.
I just played the Rachmaninoff Second Concerto, Movement 1.
Jason Nam has been playing for 5 years. When you talk to him about music, he sounds more like a teacher than a student.
The hardest part would be having all the musicality of the Rachmaninoff without being too much, going overboard, while also having, good technique and all that.
Throughout the youth competition, one instrument outnumbered all the rest. There was violin after violin after violin. In fact, half the competition, 11 out of 22, were violinists. And ultimately, so were all 3 winners.
That doesn't mean that the flute players, the cello players, the pianists were inferior. It just means that the violinists had a better day that day.
It was a good day for violinists, but in a field so mired in tradition, it can be tempting to go with what's familiar. Not just with the instruments, but also with the compositions played. The overwhelming majority of the 22 pieces performed were from the same, very specific demographic.
Dead white European male composers, but there's a lot of other people, a lot of other kinds of music that is really worth listening to. For example, there was a saxophone player who came in and brought a piece that I had never heard of. It was a Czardas, a Hungarian dance by a Spanish composer named Pedro Iturralde.
So in the classical world, saxophone is often underrepresented.
This is Jaden Lee, a high school freshman in Cyprus. He's been playing the sax since 4th grade. Jaden's the only saxophonist competing.
The piece, Piccaneggiata, it kind of combines both the elements of jazz and classical, and it creates a really nice timbre between the saxophone and the orchestra.
The sax is to jazz what the violin is to classical music. You don't often see saxophone solos in orchestras, even though the instrument has its roots in classical music.
It's known as a jazzy instrument, but they haven't really explored the classical side of saxophone.
Clyde and the Culver City Orchestra are looking for more ways to engage kids who are doing things outside the norm, like Jaden.
Just because they didn't win doesn't mean that they're not going to get a chance to play either with or within the orchestra. And we want them to develop a relationship with us. And if that means that I have to put a little bit more effort into making sure that we have a good program ready for these young musicians coming up, then that's why they invented coffee.
For the students in the orchestra, the youth competition isn't the end goal. It's just the first step to giving the next generation of LA musicians a chance to grow. Today's story was reported by me, Cliff Beach, and Timothy Hall. Story editing by Kyrie Douglas and Ari Saperstein. This piece was produced as a part of the LA Radio Club Reporting Incubator. Mixing and sound design by Timothy Hall. This podcast is produced by Aaron Dalton, Emma Lehman, and Ari Saperstein.